My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 32 years old. And the strange thing about realizing someone doesn't love you the way you thought they did is that it doesn't always happen during a screaming fight. Sometimes there is no slammed door, no dramatic confession, no lipstick on a collar, no secret text glowing on a nightstand, no stranger's name whispered in sleep. Sometimes it happens over dinner, under soft restaurant lighting, with a glass of water sweating beside your plate, while the person across from you says something so casually cruel that your heart takes a second to understand it. Daniel Hayes and I had been together for about a year and a half. Not long enough to be married. Long enough to have routines. Long enough for his favorite mug to live in my kitchen cabinet. Long enough for me to know that he hated cilantro, slept with one leg outside the blanket, and always turned his phone face down when he was anxious. We kept separate places. I owned a small house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a narrow porch, a backyard I kept promising myself I'd landscape, and never did. Daniel rented a 1-bedroom apartment across town. He worked as a legal assistant at a mid-sized law firm. I worked in software development for a tech company that paid well enough for me to be comfortable, but not so well that money felt imaginary. I budgeted. I saved. I still compared grocery prices like my mother raised me to believe every dollar had a witness. Daniel knew that about me. At least, I thought he did. About 7 months into our relationship, he came over one Friday night, looking tired in a way that made me soften before he even spoke. We were sitting on my couch with takeout containers between us when he rubbed both hands over his face and said, "Can I be honest about something?" I muted the TV. "Of course." He stared down at his knees. "Things have been tight." I remember the way he said it. Quiet. Almost embarrassed. His rent had gone up. His student loans were eating into his paycheck. His credit card balance had gotten worse than he expected. Car insurance, groceries, gas, everything. I understood. Life was expensive. And I cared about him. So I offered to help. "Let me send you $500 a month for a while," I said. His head snapped up. "Claire, no. I'm not asking you for money." "I know you're not. I'm offering. I don't want to owe you." "You won't. It's not a loan." He looked at me like I had handed him something fragile. "You're serious?" "I'm serious." He pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "You're amazing," he whispered into my hair. "Thank you. Seriously, this helps more than you know." And I believed him. That was the problem. I believed the gratitude. I believed the softness. I believed I was helping the man I loved get through a hard season. For 4 months, it felt fine. Then, something shifted. Not all at once. Little things. A comment here. A sigh there. A strange look when I said I was moving extra money into investments instead of planning a vacation. At first, I ignored it. People get stressed. Money makes people weird. I told myself that. Then came the dinner. It was a Thursday night at a nice Italian place downtown. My treat. Daniel had picked the restaurant because, as he put it, we deserved something better than another night of noodles on your couch. I remember smiling when he said it. Now I wonder if that was the first warning. He sat across from me in a navy button-down I'd complimented twice before. His hair was perfect. Too perfect, almost. Like he had prepared for the evening in a way I hadn't. We ordered pasta, wine, an appetizer neither of us needed. While we waited for the food, Daniel scrolled through Instagram. I was telling him about a bug at work that had taken half my team all day to fix, but he wasn't really listening. Then he turned his phone toward me. "Look at this!" On the screen was a photo from one of his friend group's brunches. Champagne on the table. Designer sunglasses. Expensive watches. A rooftop view. Men in linen shirts leaning back like rent had never been due in their lives. "Looks fun," I said. Daniel studied my face. "Yeah, you know what's crazy though?" Something in his voice made me set my glass down. "What?" "All of them get monthly allowances from their girlfriends." I blinked. "Allowances?" "Yeah." He leaned back like he was trying to sound casual. "Like, money every month. For whatever they want. Shopping, gym stuff, grooming, savings, trips, whatever." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. None came. "How much money are we talking?" He shrugged, but his eyes stayed on me. Like, $2,000 a month minimum? Some get more. The restaurant noise seemed to fade for half a second. Forks against plates. Low music. A woman laughing at the bar. And Daniel looking at me like he had just made a reasonable observation instead of opening a door I did not want to walk through. 2,000, I repeated. Yeah, I told them you helped me with 500, and they were kind of shocked. There it was. Not a request yet. Not officially. Just the knife laid gently on the table. Shocked how? I asked. Daniel gave another shrug, smaller this time. They just couldn't believe it was that low. That low. I mean, he looked away, then back. 500 doesn't really go that far. I sat very still. I thought it was helping with your rent. It helps with everything, he said quickly, but it barely covers my car payment and insurance. I didn't realize I was paying your car payment. You're not paying it. You're helping me. There's a difference. I took a sip of water, mostly to stop myself from answering too fast. So what are you saying exactly? He exhaled like this was hard for him, like he was the brave one. I'm saying if you could do 2,000 a month, that would actually make a difference. I could pay down debt faster, save, breathe a little. Maybe enjoy life instead of constantly stressing. I looked at him across the candlelight. The same man who had once kissed my forehead and told me he didn't care where we went as long as we were together. Now he was comparing me to women I'd never met because their boyfriends looked richer on Instagram. Daniel, I said slowly, that is 4 times what I'm already giving you. You make good money. That's not the point. Then what is the point? His voice sharpened. I saw the trap before he said it. But he said it anyway. Do you not think I'm worth it? There it was. The emotional invoice. Either I paid more, or I admitted I did not value him. I felt something inside me go cold. I think I've been helping you voluntarily, I said. 500 a month is $6,000 a year. He looked offended. I know math, Claire. Then you know that isn't nothing. I never said it was nothing. You said your friends were shocked it was that low. Because it is low compared to what they get. You mean compared to what they say they get? His eyes narrowed. They're not lying. You've seen their bank statements? I've seen their lives, their apartments, their clothes, the trips they take. You've seen their Instagram. His jaw tightened. The waiter arrived with our food at exactly the wrong moment. Plates placed gently between 2 people who had suddenly become strangers. Neither of us spoke while he grated Parmesan over Daniel's pasta. When he walked away, Daniel picked up his fork, but didn't eat. I knew you'd react like this, he muttered. Like what? Like I'm greedy for telling you what I need. No, I said. Like someone who doesn't appreciate being compared to other women based on how much money they give their boyfriends. That's not what I'm doing. That is exactly what you're doing. His cheeks flushed. We ate in silence after that. Not comfortable silence. Not the kind couples share when they are tired and safe. This was sharp. A silence with teeth. I thought maybe the conversation would die there. I wanted it to. Part of me hoped Daniel would wake up the next morning embarrassed and say, I'm sorry, that came out wrong. But he didn't. Instead, the next week became a slow campaign. He sent me listings for apartments he wished he could afford. He mentioned his friend Mark was going to Miami because his girlfriend actually helps him travel. He complained that his credit card minimums were basically impossible. He talked about needing new clothes for work. He sighed when I mentioned making dinner at home. Every comment had the same shadow behind it. More. 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 By the end of the week, I felt like I was dating a man who had turned my kindness into a subscription plan. Then came the spreadsheet. I was at Daniel's apartment on a Wednesday night. His place was clean, in the way people clean before they make a point. Coffee table cleared, laptop charged, a glass of water waiting for me like this was a meeting. He sat beside me on the couch and opened an Excel file. Color-coded. Red cells. Yellow cells. Green cells. My stomach sank before he even spoke. Look, he said, turning the laptop toward me. This is my income. This is my spending. See all the red? That's why I go into debt every month, just living. I leaned closer. At first, I tried to be fair. Rent, loans, insurance, utilities, normal things. Then I kept reading. Daniel, I said, you're spending $600 a month on skincare and grooming? That's normal for good products. And salon appointments? I have to look presentable. You work in an office, not on a movie set. His mouth tightened. I pointed lower on the sheet. $700 on dining and entertainment? I have to eat. You have to eat $700 of restaurant food? Not everyone wants to meal prep like they're training for a survival show. I stared at him. Then another line caught my eye. $800 shopping? I need clothes. Every month? I need to look professional. Your law firm requires $800 in new clothes every single month? It's not just work, he snapped. It's maintaining myself, feeling confident, looking like I belong. There was something almost sad beneath the entitlement. Almost. But sadness did not make it my responsibility. I closed the laptop. Daniel looked stunned. What are you doing? I've seen enough. You didn't even let me explain. You explained perfectly. His face hardened. So here's what I'm seeing. You're living beyond your means, and you want me to fund the gap? I'm asking my girlfriend to help me. I was helping you. 500 isn't enough. It was enough when you were grateful. He flinched, but I kept going. You took something I offered out of love, turned it into an expectation, then tried to negotiate it up because your friends supposedly get more. It's not about them. That is literally how this started. His eyes shone, but his voice stayed angry. So you won't help me? I took a breath. And in that breath, I felt the relationship shift, not break. It had already broken. This was just me finally hearing it crack. No, I said. I'm saying the $500 a month stops. Daniel froze. What? I'm canceling it. You're cutting me off? I'm ending voluntary support that you've made very clear isn't good enough. You can't be serious. I am. His expression changed then. The confidence disappeared. For the first time, he looked afraid. Claire, my rent. You have a job. My paycheck doesn't cover everything. Then you need to change your spending. That's easy for you to say. No, it's easy for you to ignore. He stood up, pacing once across the living room. This is unbelievable. You're punishing me for being honest. I'm protecting myself from being used. He turned back, wounded and furious. So that's what I am to you? A user? I stood too. You tell me. Because right now, it feels like you see me as a source of income first and a partner second. That's not fair. What's not fair is being told my help isn't enough because Instagram convinced you love has a monthly minimum. His lips parted. No answer came. I picked up my jacket from the chair. He stared at me. Where are you going? Home. We're not done talking. Yes, I said quietly. We are. His face went pale. What does that mean? It means we're done, Daniel. He gave a short, shocked laugh. You're breaking up with me over money? No, I'm breaking up with you because you tried to make my love compete with other people's wallets. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. His eyes filled. This time, I did not move toward him, because I understood something then. His tears might have been real, but so was the spreadsheet. So were the comparisons. So was the number he had placed on my value as a girlfriend. $2,000 a month. I walked out before he could say my name again. That night, my phone lit up over and over. Messages. Calls. Paragraphs I refused to open. The next morning, I logged into my bank account before work. Found the recurring transfer. $500. Daniel Hayes. Monthly. I stared at it for a long moment. Not because I was unsure, because I was grieving the woman I had been when I set it up. Then I clicked cancel. And just like that, the money stopped. The first message came at 8:03 a.m. Right on time. Like a clock that had been quietly counting down to this exact moment. Daniel, the deposit didn't go through. I was already at work, coffee half finished, inbox filling up, the normal rhythm of a Wednesday morning, trying to pretend nothing had changed. I stared at the message for a few seconds, then locked my phone. No reply. At 8:07, another one. Hello? 8? 10. Daniel, Claire, and you serious right now? 8:13. Daniel, we need to talk. 8:17. Daniel, you can't just cut me off like this. I have bills due. I muted the conversation. Set my phone face down. Tried to focus on my code. But there's something about silence that makes people louder. By lunchtime, I had 68 messages. 68. I didn't open them all. I didn't need to. The preview lines told the whole story. This is messed up. You're overreacting. I didn't mean it like that. You're punishing me. Claire, please. I'm serious. I need that money. This is financial abuse. That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny. Because it was so wildly disconnected from reality that it almost felt like a different language. Financial abuse. From the man I had been voluntarily supporting. I waited until I saw one message that crossed a line. Daniel, I'm coming to your house tonight. We're not done. That's when I replied. For the first time. Me. No, you're not. The typing bubble appeared immediately, like he had been holding his breath all morning. Daniel, we're not broken up. You're just mad. Me. We are broken up. I meant what I said. Daniel, you can't break up with me over money. I stared at that sentence, then typed slowly. Me. I didn't. I broke up with you because you tried to manipulate me into giving you more money by comparing me to other women. 3 dots. Pause. Then, Daniel, I wasn't manipulating you. Me. It felt like you were. No response after that. For about 10 minutes. Then the messages stopped. Just long enough for me to think, maybe he had accepted it. Maybe it would end here. Clean. Quiet. Contained. It didn't. At 7:42 p.m., my doorbell camera lit up my phone. Motion detected. I opened the app. And there he was. Daniel. Pacing on my front porch like it belonged to him. Then he knocked. Once. Twice. Harder the third time. Claire, he called. I know you're home. I didn't move from the couch. Didn't turn on a light. Didn't open the door. But I did press the speaker button. Go home, Daniel. He froze. Looked straight at the camera. We need to talk face to face. We don't need to do anything. His expression twisted. You can't just abandon me like this. There it was again. That word. Abandon. Like I had left him stranded in the middle of nowhere instead of stopped paying his bills. I'm not abandoning you, I said. I'm ending financial support. There's a difference. My rent is due in 3 days. Then you should probably figure that out. His voice cracked. How? The same way you would if we'd never met. My paycheck doesn't cover everything. Then your lifestyle is the problem. He let out a harsh laugh. Wow, that's cold. No, I said quietly. That's reality. He stepped closer to the door, pressed his hand flat against it. Claire, please, just open the door. I didn't. Please, he said again, softer this time. We can fix this. How? I asked. Silence. Then, you could just meet me halfway. There it was. Not, we could fix this. Not, we could figure something out. Just numbers. Always back to numbers. How much is halfway? I asked. He hesitated. Then said it anyway. Like 1,000? I closed my eyes for a second. Even now. Even here. He was negotiating. I'm not negotiating, I said. His voice sharpened instantly. So you're really going to let me lose my apartment? You're not going to lose your apartment. You don't know that. I do. You'll figure it out. You have no idea how hard this is. I have a very clear idea, I said. You're being forced to live within your means. That's when the tears started. Real ones. Not the controlled kind he'd used before. His shoulders shook. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm just not giving you money anymore. There's no difference. There is, I said. You just don't like it. A door opened 2 houses down. My neighbor stepped outside, looking between us. Everything okay? Daniel turned toward him instantly. He's kicking me out, he said, pointing at my door. I pressed the speaker again. He doesn't live here, I said clearly. He's my ex. He's refusing to leave. The neighbor blinked, looked uncomfortable, then nodded slowly. Yeah, maybe you should go, man. Daniel stared at the camera. At me. The hurt in his eyes turning into something sharper. This isn't over, he said. Then he walked away. The next morning, I got a voicemail. Unknown number. I let it play while I made coffee. Hey, this is Mark. I'm Jenna's boyfriend, Daniel's roommate's girlfriend. He asked me to call you. Look, I don't know what's going on, but he's really messed up right now. He says you cut him off and broke up with him, and, maybe you guys could just talk? Work something out? Delete. Then came the next call. A number I recognized. Daniel's best friend. I answered. Mistake. What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped before I could say hello. Good morning to you too. Don't be cute. He's devastated. I'm aware. He can't pay his bills, Claire. He couldn't pay them before either. That's why I was helping. You were supporting him and then you just stopped. I was voluntarily helping him with $500 a month. He asked for $2,000. I said no and ended it. Those were my choices to make. He didn't ask for $2,000, she said quickly. He was just telling you what other people get. He showed me a spreadsheet and asked me to cover the gap after telling me his friends get more. I connected the dots. You're twisting this. I'm clarifying it. She huffed. He's going into debt because of you. No, I said. He's going into debt because he spends $800 a month on clothes and $600 on grooming. That's normal. Not on his salary. You're being judgmental. I'm being factual. There was a pause. Then, quieter. So you're just going to let him drown? I leaned against the counter. Took a sip of coffee. He's not drowning, I said. He's learning how to swim. You're unbelievable. You're the 4th person to tell me that, I said. I'm starting to think it's not the insult you think it is. She hung up. That weekend, Daniel tried something different. No pounding on the door. No angry texts. No accusations. Instead, he showed up holding takeout. From my favorite steakhouse downtown. The expensive one. I opened the door just enough to see him clearly. Didn't invite him in. I brought dinner, he said, offering a small, hopeful smile. Your favorite. I looked at the bag. Then back at him. How did you pay for that? He blinked. What? The food. That place is at least $150. How did you afford it? He hesitated. I used my credit card. The one you told me was maxed out? I made a payment. With what money? Silence. His shoulders dropped. Can I just come in? He asked softly. It's cold out here. We can talk right here. Claire. No, I said. Answer the question. He looked down. I used part of my rep money. I let out a slow breath. There it was. Proof. Clear. Undeniable. You told me you couldn't pay rent, I said. I can't, he whispered. But you can spend money on steak and wine to try to get me back. I was trying to do something nice. You were trying to fix a financial problem with a romantic gesture, I said. That doesn't work. It could if you'd just listen to me. I am listening. And you're still asking for money. It's not about the money. It is entirely about the money. His face crumpled. I'm going to lose my apartment. Then move. I can't just move. I have a lease. Break it. That's like $3,000 in penalties. Then that's your problem to solve. His eyes flashed. I hate you. I didn't flinch. No, I said. You hate that I'm not giving you money. If you gave me $2,000 right now, I wouldn't hate you. Exactly, I said. Silence stretched between us.
heavy, honest, unavoidable.
I stepped back. Good night, Daniel. Then I closed the door, locked it, and stood there for a moment, listening. At first, nothing. Then, quiet sobbing, right outside my door. It lasted longer than I expected. 10 minutes, maybe more. Each sound tugging at something in me I refused to let lead. Eventually, it stopped. His footsteps faded, and the house went quiet again. Later that night, my neighbor texted me. "Neighbor, your ex is kind of dramatic, huh?" I stared at the message, then typed back. "Me, you have no idea." And for the first time since all of this started, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear, like the fog had lifted just enough for me to see exactly what I had been standing in, and exactly why I had to walk away. Week 2 of no contact. At least, on my end. Daniel, apparently, had decided silence was just another obstacle to work around. It started with people I barely knew. A cousin whose name I'd forgotten. An old roommate of his I'd met exactly once at a birthday dinner. A coworker who opened the call with, "Hey, you don't really know me, but..." They all said the same thing. Different voices. Same script. "He's struggling. You're being a little harsh. Can't you just help him out one more time?" At first, I tried explaining. I was helping him. He asked for more. He compared me to other women. He turned support into expectation. But explanations are wasted on people who already picked a side. So, eventually, I stopped. No. That was the answer. Just no. The grocery store encounter happened on a Sunday. I was in the frozen aisle, staring at 2 brands of something I didn't actually care about, when I heard my name. Claire. I turned. It was Maya, one of Daniel's closest friends, the same one who had called me a jerk. She walked toward me like she had been waiting for this moment. "You know he had to borrow money from his parents, right?" I blinked. "Good." She frowned. "Good? That's what parents are for." Her expression sharpened. "He's humiliated. He had to tell them his girlfriend cut him off." "Ex-girlfriend," I corrected. "And I didn't cut him off from anything. I stopped giving him money." "You were supporting him." "I was helping him," I said calmly. "There's a difference." She crossed her arms. "You don't just stop helping someone overnight. You do when they try to turn it into a negotiation based on what other people get." He was just being honest about his needs. And I was honest about my limits. She scoffed. "You could have compromised." "It was never about the amount." "Yes, it was," she shot back. 500 wasn't enough." "Then he shouldn't have relied on it." Her jaw tightened. "Do you have any idea how much he's suffering right now?" I met her gaze. "About as much as anyone suffers when they have to live within their means." "You're heartless." "I'm realistic." She shook her head, like I was the one missing something obvious. He just wanted to feel valued. I let out a quiet breath. He wanted $2,000 a month to feel valued. "That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it again, because there wasn't an answer that didn't circle back to money. Eventually, she huffed and turned away. "Whatever," she muttered. "You'll regret this." I watched her leave. And for a moment, I wondered if she was right. If one day I'd look back and think, maybe I should have just... But the thought didn't finish, because I already knew the answer. If I had given him more, he would have wanted more. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Daniel's father. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, then typed back. "Me. About what?" The reply came quickly. "Daniel's dad. About how you treated my son." I leaned back against my couch. Of course this was happening. Me. I stopped giving him money he wasn't entitled to. That's the whole story. Daniel's dad. You led him to believe he could count on your support. Me. I helped him for 4 months. Then he asked for more based on what his friends get. I said no. Pause. Then, Daniel's dad. He's in debt because of you. I almost laughed. Me. He's in debt because he spends $800 a month on clothes and $600 on grooming. That's not my fault. The typing bubble blinked. Disappeared. Came back. Daniel's dad. You're going to make this right. I stared at the message for a long second. Then typed one word. Me. No. He called immediately. I let it ring. Voicemail. He called again. And again. On the fourth call, I answered. Claire, he started, voice already raised. You don't get to just... I hung up, blocked the number, and that was the end of that. I thought that would be the peak. Friends. Family.
Guilt. Pressure.
All the usual tools. I underestimated him. The first time I saw him at my gym, I almost convinced myself it was coincidence. He was on the treadmill. Headphones in. Running like he had somewhere to be. We made eye contact. He looked away. I finished my workout and left. The second time was at my usual coffee shop. He was sitting at a corner table, laptop open, coffee untouched, watching the door, watching for me. That's when I knew. The third time, I didn't let it slide. It was a Friday morning. Same coffee shop, same corner table, same performance. I walked straight up to him. Are you following me? He looked up, startled. No, I can go where I want. You've been at 3 places I go this week. Maybe we just have similar routines. We never did before. He hesitated. Then quietly, maybe I'm trying to run into you. I crossed my arms. Why? Because you won't talk to me. Because we're broken up. We don't have to be. Yes, I said. We do. He swallowed. I made a mistake. You made a choice. I didn't mean it the way it came out. You meant it enough to build a spreadsheet. His face flushed. That was just me trying to explain. That you need more money, I cut in. It's not about the money. It's always about the money. His eyes filled again. Right there. In the middle of the coffee shop. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. Can we please just talk somewhere private? I shook my head. No. Why not? Because every time we talk privately, you ask me for money. That's not fair. This is, I said. Public. Clear. No confusion. His voice rose slightly. Claire, please. Lower your voice, I said calmly. Heads were starting to turn. People were watching. And that was exactly why I stayed. Because truth behaves better in daylight. I'm going to lose everything, he whispered. Then fix your spending. I can't fix it overnight. Then start somewhere. He stepped closer. Just help me this one time. There it was. Again. Always back to the same place. No, I said. His face collapsed. Tears spilled over. Real.
Messy. Uncontrolled.
I can't do this without you. Yes, you can. I don't want to. That's different. Before he could respond, someone else stepped into the scene. Maya. Of course. She must have been outside. Waiting. Leave him alone, she snapped at me. I didn't even look at her. He followed me here. He just wants to talk. And I just want to drink my coffee in peace. You're being cruel. I'm being consistent, she scoffed. He's broke. Then he should be at work, I said, finally glancing at her. Not stalking his ex at a coffee shop. Daniel let out a small, broken sound. Maya grabbed his arm. Come on, she said softly. He didn't move at first. Just looked at me. Like he was waiting. For something. Anything. A crack. A hesitation. A sign that if he pushed just a little harder, I might give in. I didn't. After a long second, he let Maya pull him away. He was crying openly now. Shoulders shaking. People staring. The door closing behind them with a soft chime. I sat down. Picked up my coffee. Took a sip. It had gone cold. That night, I met up with one of my actual friends. Someone who knew me. Not just my relationship. Be honest, I said after telling her everything. Is it messed up that I don't feel bad? She raised an eyebrow. Why would it be? He's clearly struggling. Because he thought he could manipulate you into funding his lifestyle, she said. That's on him. His whole friend group thinks I'm the villain. His whole friend group benefits from the same mindset, she replied. Of course they do. I stared down at my glass. He even got his dad to call me. She laughed. You're kidding. I wish I was. She leaned back in her chair. You didn't dodge a bullet, she said. You dodged a missile. I smiled a little. Despite everything. Despite the chaos. The noise. The pressure. There was one feeling that kept coming back. Quiet.
Steady.
Unexpected.
Relief.
Because if this was who Daniel was after a year and a half, what would he have been after 5? After marriage? After shared finances? He didn't want a partner. He wanted a solution. And when I stopped being that solution, he didn't know what to do. By the time I got home that night, my phone was silent. For the first time in 2 weeks. No calls. No messages. No unknown numbers. No pressure. Just quiet. And for the first time since all of this started, I slept through the night. It's been about 2.5 months since I canceled the transfer. Long enough for the silence to feel normal again. Long enough for his name to stop lighting up my phone. Long enough for me to realize something I didn't expect. Peace is louder than chaos. You just don't notice it at first. The first month after everything ended was messy. Not on my end. I had already drawn the line. But Daniel tried everything. More friends calling. People I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly checking in. His sister sent me a message on Facebook calling me selfish. Said I was a deadbeat for refusing to support someone I wasn't even dating anymore. I blocked her. Blocked his friends. Blocked numbers I didn't recognize. It felt extreme. Nuclear even. But necessary. Because boundaries don't work if you leave the door cracked open. Then, slowly, things changed. Not because he accepted it. Because he had no choice. I heard about it through the one mutual friend I still kept contact with.
Neutral. Level-headed.
The kind of person who doesn't take sides unless there's something worth standing on. She moved out, he told me casually over coffee one afternoon. I blinked. Moved out? Yeah, couldn't afford her apartment anymore. I let that settle. What did she do? Got a place with 2 roommates. Smaller. Not a great area. I nodded slowly. How much is rent now? $600. I almost smiled. From $1,800 to $600. That was the difference between illusion and reality. What else? I asked. He shrugged. Sold her car. Payments were too high. Got something older. Of course. And she picked up weekend work. Doing what? Catering, waitressing, stuff like that. I leaned back in my chair. And there it was. Not a tragedy. Not a collapse. Just adjustment. The kind everyone makes when they can't afford the life they want. Funny how fast people learn when there's no one left to catch them. The real turning point came around week 6, at a birthday party. One of those gatherings where everyone knows everyone just enough to pretend they're closer than they are. Music too loud. Drinks too strong. Laughter that carried a little too far. I almost didn't go, but I did. And of course, so did he. I saw Daniel before he saw me. Standing near the bar. Dressed sharp. Hair styled. Smile back in place like nothing had ever happened. And next to him, a woman I didn't recognize.
Tall.
Polished. Effortless in a way that suggested money wasn't a question in her life. She laughed at something he said, touched his arm, leaned in just a little too close. And Daniel made sure I saw it. He angled his body, raised his voice just enough. Let the moment linger. Like he was performing for an audience of one. Me. I held his gaze for exactly 1 second, then looked away. Went back to my conversation. Because here's the thing. You can't compete with someone who's still playing the game you walked away from. Later that night, he found me. Cornered me near the hallway by the bathrooms. Not even going to say hi? He asked. I did, I said. I nodded. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? He hesitated, then shrugged. I don't know. Maybe ask how I'm doing? I tilted my head slightly. How are you doing? He blinked. Thrown off. Better, he said quickly. Way better. Good. No thanks to you. I nodded once. Glad to hear it. He shifted his weight. I have a new girlfriend. I saw. She treats me really well. That's great. She actually values me. I met his eyes. I'm happy for you. Something flickered across his face.
Annoyance.
Because that wasn't the reaction he wanted. Don't you want to know how she treats me? He pressed. Not really. His jaw tightened. She gives me $1,500 a month. There it was. The number. Always the number. I nodded slowly. Okay. That's 3 times what you gave me. Math checks out. His eyes narrowed. That doesn't bother you? No. Why not? Because I already knew the answer. But I let him sit in the question for a second. Then, because it was never about the amount, I said. He scoffed. Of course you'd say that. If she wants to give you money, that's her choice, I continued. Just like it was mine to stop. She wants to, he said quickly. That's the difference. Then good for both of you. His frustration sharpened. You're such a jerk. You've mentioned that before. I just wanted you to know. I'm happy now. Then I'm glad, I said. Sounds like we both got what we wanted. He stared at me, waiting. Watching.
Hoping.
For jealousy. For regret. For anything that looked like I had lost something. I gave him nothing. After a long moment, he huffed. Enjoy your lonely life. Will do, I said. Enjoy your allowance. He turned and walked away. Shoulders stiff. Smile gone. I didn't think about it again. Not that night. Not the next day. Not until my neutral friend called me 2 days later. Hey, he said. I need to tell you something. If it's about Daniel, I really don't. No, you do, he cut in. Trust me. I sighed. Okay, what? That new girlfriend? Yeah? She's not giving him money. I paused. What? She pays for stuff when they're out. Dinner, drinks, normal dating things. But there's no allowance. How do you know? I know her, he said. We work in the same building. I asked her about it. Didn't mention you, obviously. Just said I heard she was spoiling her boyfriend. And she laughed, he said. Said she's not funding anyone. She just likes being generous on dates. I let that sink in. So he lied. Yeah, he said. He made up the 1,500 thing. To make me jealous. Probably. I leaned back against my couch, staring at nothing, waiting for the feeling to come.
Anger.
Hurt. Something. But there was only clarity. Because even when I thought it was true, I didn't care. And now that I knew it wasn't, I still didn't. That's kind of sad, I said finally. Yeah. A few weeks later, I heard they broke up. Apparently, Daniel had started hinting.
Suggesting. Comparing.
The same pattern. Different woman. Same outcome. Shocking. The last update I got was simple. He was still in the smaller apartment. Still working weekends. Still posting on Instagram about growth and knowing your worth. I didn't check his page. Didn't need to. Because I already understood something he didn't. When someone measures love in money, they never stop counting. If I had given him 2,000, he would have wanted 3. If I had given him 3, he would have wanted 5. There is always someone richer. Always someone flashier. Always another number to chase. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a lifestyle. And when I stopped funding it, he had to build it himself. As for me, I'm good. I've been dating casually. Met someone recently. He has his own career. Pays his own bills. Hasn't compared me to anyone. Hasn't asked me for a single dollar. It's refreshing. Almost strange. But in the best way. Sometimes people ask if I regret it. If I should have compromised. Met him halfway. Maybe bumped it up to 1,000. But here's the truth. It was never about the number. It was about the moment he decided my value was tied to how much money I gave him. The moment he turned love into a negotiation. The moment he thought comparison would make me pay more. That's when it ended. Not when I canceled the transfer. Not when I closed the door. Not when I walked away. It ended the second he looked at me and saw a wallet instead of a partner. I don't miss him. I don't miss the relationship. I don't miss feeling like an ATM with emotional benefits. What I do miss is the version of him I thought he was. Before the spreadsheet. Before the comparisons. Before I realized I was dating someone who saw me as a solution instead of a person. But that version never existed. I just hadn't seen clearly yet. Now I do. And I like what I see in the mirror. Someone who has boundaries. Someone who doesn't negotiate her self-respect. Someone who knows the difference between love and a transaction. He can keep looking for someone to fund his life. I hope he finds it. I really do. As for me, I'll be over here building mine. With someone who doesn't need an allowance to value me. That's the real upgrade.